What's going on, Daytona fans? Today we're going to be checking out the user manual to find out what I need to change Titan's oil. So let's turn to the page that matters. Alright, Daytona fans, on page 214 of the manual, that's where you're going to find your fluid capacities. Of course, you're going to have your 3.6 all the way up to your supercharged 6.2s. What pertains to us today is the 5.7. So we're going to need some 5W20 and we're going to need 7 quarts of that stuff. So why don't we head out to the car, because I've already got that liquid, and get this change going. Alright guys, here is my brand new drain plug. I'm going to open it up and show you how it works. Now the way this drain plug works is that it becomes stationary, and there are two pieces. Here's the drain plug nut itself, and here is the valve. The valve is currently open, as you can see right inside. I'll put my finger through it right there. And what happens is that we replace the OEM drain plug with this. So this goes in its place. And this valve here is two-piece, which allows you to adjust where you want it to be prior to tightening this nut. So once this nut is tightened, we never have to remove it unless we need to do something with it. And once it's tightened, all we're going to do is move this valve to open and close to drain the oil. Now I'll show you what the valve looks like when it's closed. All we're gonna have to do is move it back this way, and as you can see, it's now closed up. I'm gonna put my finger through it again, and you can't see it. Now this blue piece right here goes in place, goes right into this gap here, which prevents the I can't do it with two hands, which prevents the spring from moving out on its own, just like that. There you go. So now the spring is unable to move. Even without the blue plastic piece, this thing is not easy to open. You can't just pop it and it comes open. You have to actually pull it up and give it some force. I can't even do it with one hand. There we go. So I have to push it up and pull at the same time. That way, now that it's open. And now that it's open again, there's my finger. But in order for this to come up on its own, it's pretty impossible. So I'm not too concerned about it. I may still just put the blue plug in for a peace of mind, but really it's not necessary. So there it closes again. It's really hard to do this with one hand. Once again, it's closed. You don't see my finger. And that's how this easy drain plug works. Now I bought the Fumoto version of it because this is the original easy drain plug. So I'd like to buy the original stuff. It looks better built, and this is the only version that allows for a two-piece. That way you can adjust this valve however you like. So now let's get this on to tighten and see how it looks. Lower your car, they said. It'll be fun, they said. It's not fun, especially when you got to change your oil and you got to fabricate something to get enough clearance to get this ramp underneath. But it's finally underneath the car and we can get started with all the clearance. One important thing you got to do once the car is up there, you're gonna have to put the handbrake down so there's no chance of it rolling backwards and crushing your skull. Alright, now that we're down here, we're gonna have to remove 4 bolts. One there, one there, one there, and this one right here. That will remove this cover, which will allow us access into the oil pan. Alright, 4 10mm bolts and a shield removed later, we have now access to the oil pan. Let's take a look. Alright, Daytona fans, the drain plug is right here and the oil filter is right up there. So now let's get to it. Now the drain plug bolt size is a 13mm socket, so make sure you have a stubby right here. That way you can fit into it and have clearance for your ratchet. Once the ratchet is in, you're going to want to have it counterclockwise. That's how you get things off. So I'm just going to go ahead and loosen it. Now that that's loosened, you can remove it. Get the oil pan underneath. Start draining. And here's the drain plug that we loosened. Now we can turn it by hand, and we're just going to keep on going. You're going to start seeing oil drip out. And you're just going to keep on going until it comes out. There you go. Just make sure it's all going into the oil pan and not into the ground, because that's going to be a huge mess. So we're just going to let that drain and come back when it's all drained out. Alright, now that the oil is just about emptied out, you know, it's going to be a long time before this stops dripping. So I'm just going to go ahead and close it up. And really, if we let it drip until it stops, we're only going to get, you know, maybe an ounce or two more. So it's not a huge deal. Here is our new drain plug. So let's get that put in. Alright, so I chose to hook it up this way. Here is the bleeding hole. Here's the valve, and the reason for that is nothing is below the oil pan. Now I could have had the bleeding hole facing downwards, but you know what, if I hit a pretty big pothole, that it's going to rip that thing right out. So I want to have it on the side. Alright, Daytona fans, we've quickly transitioned to the indoors so I can show you how to remove the oil filter. I didn't really have enough space or, you know, a third hand to hold the camera and do the oil filter. So here we are. And it's a real simple process. Now pretend that you're facing the oil filter this way. So you're looking at it like that. All you're going to need is this tool. And this is going to grip the oil filter for you to be able to loosen it up. Now how this works is a very, very simple pull. You see how the circle is getting smaller? That's going to be able to grip onto this filter and have you remove it. So you can see right now it's loose. All we're going to have to do is tighten up to the point where it's snug. See that? Once it's snug, you're just going to keep on turning it counterclockwise until it's loose. Once it's loose, you can get rid of this tool and just loosen it by hand. Just beware that the moment you loosen it by hand, oil is going to come out. So get that oil pan ready. So you just keep on loosening it until it comes off the threads, and you're just going to turn it upside down. Let the rest of the oil drain out. Once the oil has been drained out, just put it back into a filter box that came with your new one and put it in the trash. Alright, that's how you remove the oil filter. Let's get back outside and finish this oil change. Alright, I've got my 7 quarts of oil right here. 5 is in the big one and 1 quart each in the small one. Now I went for a synthetic oil because it helps keep the engine cleaner and it prevents buildup and gunk. And my goal is to keep this car for a while, so I like to have the engine running as healthy as possible. So let's go ahead and get these oils into the motor. Alright, hopefully you can see it in the camera. You see the oil level stop at that second dot there on the left. Now that's at full. And we want it that way because once we start the car, it's actually going to lower a little bit. Some of it's going to get into the filter. And after that, the level will be in between the 2 dots. And that's exactly how much oil we need to have in the engine. We've got some used oil here, so in order to dispose of this properly, I'm going to put it back into these containers now that they're empty, and I'm going to take these containers to my local auto parts store, and they will recycle this oil. So let's get that filled up. All right, all the oil has been empty, and there is our factory drain plug. All right, and I'm going to keep this in my toolbox for whenever I want to put this back in, if I'm gonna put it back in. So I'm just gonna dry it out with my towel, store it away. All right, Daytona fans, it's time to reset the oil life. I know it says 93%, but that's because I accidentally reset the oil life. It was at about 11 to 12% prior to this reset, so that would put me at about 4 to 5%. So in order to reset the oil life, you're going to have to put the car into the run position, but with the engine off. As you can tell on the left, it's at 0 RPMs, which means it's off, and all we're going to have to do is hold this OK button. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. And that's all there is to it. Now the oil life is back to 100%. There's fresh oil in there, and we're good to go. All right, Daytona fans, so that's it for this oil change. And I definitely recommend changing your own oil, because at least you know you did it, and you know you did it right. There are a ton of stories out there where these quick lube places don't even change your oil. You know, you pay for the service, and all they do is drive into their bay, leave it there for a little bit, top off your fluids, and drive out. You know what, that's slimy, but at the same time, you know, it's causing damage to your motor because you're building up sludge. And if you keep on going back to the same place over and over and over, and they don't change your oil, eventually your engine will sludge up and give out, which means a big money repair. So that's why I like to do my own oil changes, because I can tell myself that it was done right and it was actually done. All right, Daytona fans, that's it for this video. I hope you found this educational and entertaining at the same time. In the comment section below, let me know if you do your own work. Everybody has their preferences. My preference is to do it myself. And of course, until the next video, have a great day. Peace.